Hi, this is Corey Stack again. I've been looking again at, because I have a mathematical background with, a first class honours in probability and, like kind of very, very high, excellent probability, world class probability academics, Professor Philip Boland and Professor Hugh Moriarty, like they did teach me a few things about probability, and I did, I was going to do the PhD in that, but I suppose I thought algebra was a better foundation. Perhaps probability would have been a better career option. But anyway, I've always been kind of I always thought that this might be the better way of doing it. But anyway, let's look at this here. Statistical proof of constitutional inference: how one party collapsed Ireland's independent nomination. So this is just an opinion. Dr. M. Stack, but it's based on statistical data. So in 2025, something unprecedented happened in Irish democracy. And I want to bring the mathematics into this, so that we can be very clear that there's an issue here, that it's not just based on opinion, that it's based on data analytics and statistical inference and evidence based in that respect. So let me do what most council couldn't do. For the first time since the Constitution, unless they manipulate it, this is not manipulated, this is based on the facts. For the first time since the Constitution was enacted, the independent route to presidential nomination produced no candidates. Out of 31 councils and 949 councillors, the result was statistically impossible unless it was coordinated. Right? So this is where the mathematical, ability is coming in here. We compared two election cycles, 1018, 2000, when independence flourished, and 2025, after Fine Gael issued a directive ordering its 246 councillors to block all independent candidates. Now, I can't give you I'll just give you the basic raw data here. 2088, 31 councils, 949 councillors, 255 Fine Gael councillors, counselling nominate independents 20. Successful independents 4. 2025, massive difference. Councils 31, same obviously. Councillors, no change there, 949. Fine Gael councillors slightly decreased, I suppose, to boundaries and things, 246. Council nominating independents 3. Successful independents 0. So 20 to 3, 4 to 0. That's very significant. The rest of the figures remain the same. Statistical significance. So if we look at a bar chart of 2018 versus 2025, the Z-test equation animating in 2018, nearly 2/3 of councils nominated at least one independent, probability of 0.645. In 2025, that probability collapsed to 0.097. The difference, 0.548, was tested using a two proportions. This is just data analytics now. It's converting to the normal distribution here, or the I won't say, but it's that test. So it's Z equal to 0.645 minus 0.097 divided by the square root of P into 1 minus P, 131 plus 131, and it's approximately 5.46. So that's P less than 0.0000. That's 4 zeros 1, less than 1 chance in 10,000 that this happened randomly. So that's the fact. In physics, 5 sigma significance is called a discovery. In democracy, it's a proof of interference. So there's also a pie chart showing a 99.6% compliant, single red slice 0.4%. Only one Fine Gael councillor, Mary Hannah Hourigan, in Tipperary, broke the directive. Defection rate is 1 divided by 246, that's the total number, 0.4%. Typical local government whip defection runs 4 to 12%. A chi-squared test is P less than, that's the chi-squared distribution we're using here. That's for categorical data, 0.0001. Again, practically zero chance by accident. The directive functioned as an absolute veto, not a suggestion. Section 4, Suppression Index for Visual Map of Ireland 1018, Green Councils 2025, Grey 28 and 3, Green Narration. This is the data analytics, compute an independent nomination suppression index, INSI equal to I minus 320, which is 0.85, and 85% collapse of independent participation in one cycle. Statistically, that's not fluctuation, it's systemic suppression. Constitutional interpretation. Article 12 guarantees two equal nomination routes, Oireachtas and local authority. When one is rendered inoperative by party instruction, sovereignty shifts from the people to the party. The data confirm the shift with 5 sigma certainty. Now, this is data analytics. So from the person that did algebra, so it should be first in the Californian mathematical curriculum. Should it be data analytics or should it be algebra? Given that I picked algebra before data analytics, let's give it for the wonderful Professor Brian Conrad of Stanford University, who's been campaigning for years that algebra should be put before data analytics in the secondary curriculum. And he's absolutely right, because here's me and I able to data analytics is simple compared to algebra. So it's very simple because it's all done. No. He's totally right, Professor Brian Conrad of the University of Stanford, a friend of mine, through my work on Project Maths, and also Professor Stephen Kirkland, another friend, both of who were treated very badly because of their agreement on principles similar to myself, and all of this work has come out of the methodology I used to raise similar concerns to those. They're one of them, Professor Stephen Kirkland, was extremely helpful and got an awful lot of rap from the Irish establishment for telling the truth. So, in my opinion, I know that from talking to them. So, democracy is not a ceremony, it's a calculation. So, the evidence is overwhelming. Z score 5.46, P less than 0.0001, 85% suppression, and 0.4% deflection. This is a quantitative proof that party control override constitutional democracy. Ireland must decide whether sovereignty belongs to the people or the party. So that's a little bit of mathematics. An algebraist who later is now using data analytics, but that's the way it should be. The algebra teaching should become first. That's the grounding in abstraction, and that should be taught before data analytics. Isn't it very clear? Since I'm an algebraist, and then I a probabilist and all of that, as well, before the data analytics. So when you have all the probability done and all the algebraics done, then it's the time to do the data analytics, and that's exactly the way Professor Brian Conrad of the University of Stanford, a very good friend of mine, a really loyal guy who was absolutely crucified for raising concerns about this to the the work of, or the advocacy of, on the opposite side of Professor Joe Bowler. Actually, the Irish Times asked me to write an article to defend to defend our side against her side. So fair play to the Irish Times, because that same kind of methodology is used here. And Professor Stephen Kirkland as well was majorly involved in in the campaign, and really the methodology that I learned from that there, where I was absolutely crucified by the Irish by the Irish establishment, and really treated very badly by a particular university in Munster, appallingly, by somebody, a law professor there. I don't want to mention his name. Allegedly, it was despicable in the extreme. They got away with it. Because the power, because they had so much power. And we'll see now how things will unfold in the future with that same university. Will they be made accountable for their failures towards me and others?